Hello, everyone. This is Howard Fox, and welcome back for another episode of the Outdoor Adventure Series, the podcast that celebrates individuals and families, businesses, and organizations that seek out and promote the exploration, stewardship, conservation, access, and enjoyment of the outdoors. Matthieu Mehuys is our guest today. Matthieu is an award-winning author, landscape architect, and host of the Regenerative Design podcast. And he is on a mission to make the world greener and healthier. Now, in today's episode, we're going to talk about Matthieu's background and his passion for empowering individuals to transform their gardens into spaces that foster biodiversity, restore ecosystems, and reverse climate change. Matthieu, it's a pleasure to have you on the podcast. Welcome.
Howard, thank you very much for having me on your show. I'm very excited to dive deep in how people not necessarily have to go really far to do some adventures, but they could have it right in their backyard.
And I actually love that. And I know we're going to get into it, but first I have to apologize. I did not give your first and last name justice. And also for my listeners, Matthieu is not exactly in my backyard, literally speaking. First off, Matthieu, where are you right now?
I'm in the Azores at the moment. So I'm in an island group that's part of Portugal, and it's situated in the middle of the Atlantic. They call it the Hawaii of the Atlantic.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
Are you a digital nomad as well?
Well, I wouldn't say I'm full on a digital nomad. I do travel a lot, but I'm changing my home base from Belgium to the Azores actually.
Okay.
So, but I travel, and I'll still be a lot of the time I'm still in Belgium.
Okay. Now I have to admit, and for our listeners, I met Matthieu because he, like myself, is a member of Podmatch, which is an organization that helps discover other podcast hosts or podcast guests. And Matthieu showed up in my feed, and I had noticed that he's from Belgium. And so I said, well, if he's from Belgium, well, of course he has to be on the podcast, because I have a huge connection to the Belgian community back in Chicago. So you also have a great background, which I definitely feel is going to be a great fit for the Outdoor Adventure Series. But one more quick question. I know I did not do your first and last name justice. How should I have pronounced your name?
So how my given or birth name is Matthieu Mehuys. That's how you say it, which is quite difficult because Matthieu is a French name and Mehuys is the old Dutch family name or Flemish name, which pretty much means my house in a way. So some people call me Matthieu Mehuys.
I love it. And so Matthieu Mehuys.
Yes.
And so my friends in Belgium, they're all going to love the fact that I have you as a guest. And so where were you raised in Belgium?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I grew up on a farm in between Bruges and the coast. It's very close to the French border. It's a very small country, of course. So yeah, that's where I grew up.
Okay. Now I do know Bruges because my friend Brigitte, I mentioned her. That's where her and Grant's wedding was. She was born and raised in Rousselard, and but Bruges was just wonderful. I remember sitting in the square with my friends, just drinking beer and eating bread and cheese. So I thought this is the life.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we like to do. We like to start off the evening with a little beer and some small good foods before we have our dinner.
Okay. Now, one important question. Well, actually, I'm not going to keep going on the historical or the experience of Belgium. So for our listeners, go to Belgium. It's a wonderful, beautiful little country. Bring your raincoat, though. You may need it. What's your beer of choice?
Oh, good question. So I've been getting a lot into the non-alcoholic beers because I do love the taste of beer, but if you have far too many, then next day it's very hard to focus and to perform. As I'm running a business and a lot of people depend on me, I can't do that frequent anymore. So I love this beer, which is called Zot, which means the crazy guy from Bruges is the beer, if I translate the name. And it's actually an old beer that they have rediscovered. So the beer wasn't existing anymore. And I think about 20 years ago, they found an old book with a recipe of an old beer.
Okay.
And they said like, well, we never saw this. And it hadn't been known, like was known as like, at some point there was this beer. So they reintroduced the beer and it has an amazing taste. And they just made a non-alcoholic version, which we call it, or it's called the Sport Zot. So it's like the sports crazy guy.
Okay.
So it's more for sporty people. And the taste is still amazing. I even guess that if you wouldn't tell anybody that it's non-alcoholic, some people wouldn't taste the difference. So
okay.
I love that one.
I will have to see if I can locate it here. My favorite was Westmalle Double.
Oh yeah, that's good.
That was
nice
my
brown,
favorite.
dark.
Oh yeah, and so enough of that. So let's talk about regenerative agriculture, farming, regenerative gardens. And first off, your background, you were classically trained as a landscape architect. How did you decide that this was a path for your profession that you wanted to get into?
Yeah, that's a great question, Howard. So it all started for me. I grew up on a family farm.
Mm-hmm.
My brother and father still today are farmers. And by the time I was 5 years old, I decided I wanted to have my own vegetable garden. Because at that time, our farm was mostly cash crops and big crops and cattle. So we didn't do much vegetable growing. But I said, you know what? I want to grow my own food. I want to know what it's like. So I started out with growing radishes. And radishes, if you want to start your vegetable garden, start with radishes.
Okay.
It's the easiest, most low maintenance vegetable to grow. You just put the seeds, you wait 6 weeks and you can harvest. Okay. So I did that and I thought like, wow, life is great. Gardening is amazing. It's so simple. I had no clue what I was doing, but it worked. And then I thought, okay, I'm going to do all the other stuff, carrots, tomatoes, everything. And I'm like 5 years old. So I just I put all my seeds everywhere in the garden. I prepared my soil. And then I came back 6 weeks, probably around 6 weeks later, thinking like, my God, it's going to be full of harvestable produce. But my whole garden was overgrown by weeds, Howard. So I was like a 5-year-old, super devastated, thinking like, why is nature not providing me with everything? And you might be wondering, what does this have to do with the story? But it was only later when I studied landscape architecture. I did a bachelor's in Munich, a bachelor in Belgium. I studied in Germany. I did a master degree. And I went on to do permaculture trainings. And I kept on learning more and more and more. And then it all of a sudden it clicked. Like in a lot of ways, when we garden, when we farm, when we work, we're working against nature. We're like, nature works in a certain way. For millions of years, it has been working in a certain way, and we don't really understand how it works. And that's actually what my book is about. So it's the 12 universal laws of nature. So I dissect like, how does nature actually work? Because if you can't understand how something works, how are you going to benefit from it? Or how are you going to fix it? Or how are you going to get what you want? So, and by doing all these endeavors, there's a lot of other things that happened, from traveling the world, visiting other eco resorts and farms and volunteering. And like, I had my fair share of adventures, and I still have today because I love traveling. But I was an eager learner. I always wanted to understand how things worked. And then I kind of cracked the code of how nature works. And now we're using that knowledge in how to do it for your own garden. Because like I said, if you work against nature, it's your back is gonna break. You're gonna have so much work. You're gonna be overwhelmed with the amount of weeds that you have, and you won't get the results that you want. And this is me as a 5-year-old, like, devastated. But then I went through a lot. I also, like I said, I traveled the world. I had a freelance job for a company in Germany, and I was working in Saudi Arabia at that time. And all of a sudden, my whole life kind of collapsed. I went to the Amazon rainforest in Ecuador. Amazing adventure. I can highly recommend if you're really like deep into crazy adventures, go to the Amazon rainforest in Ecuador.
I have other friends that are very much into deep, outrageous adventures. I've gotten too old. I'm very happy in the garden,
Yeah,
but I digress.
that's just it. No, that's it. But I went there and I was so impressed by the beauty that our planet has. Like the Amazon rainforest, it's like there's trees the size of skyscrapers. I've seen so many animals. I've seen so many things, and it left a really deep impression on me. Thinking like, wow, we really have to protect this because these are the green lungs of our planet.
Mm-hmm.
This is what produces the air that we breathe. So, but then what happened, Howard, is that my life was really bad. I actually got dengue, which is like kind of like malaria.
Yeah.
And I got really sick for like 2 months. I lost a lot of weight and I'm not the biggest guy either. And then my girlfriend dumped me. I didn't have any more money because I spent it all on traveling. And so I was rock bottom in my life. And this was, in retrospect, it was one of the best moments in my life because I started to think like, okay, why am I here? What am I doing here? And I had nothing to lose because I lost everything. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to dedicate my life to helping people how to create beautiful green environments so that we can enjoy it in our own backyard and that we have a positive impact on the environment so that we don't have to devastate our planet on a big scale and that people become more aware of what it takes to grow tomato, what it takes to maintain a garden and reconnect people to nature. Because I think that's one of the biggest problems of our modern day is that we've become so disconnected from nature, both in our food supply system, which is the agricultural system where we're using lots of chemicals, and that's destroying our personal health. And also that because of industrial revolution, cities grow, we have less and less and less green. And so people are struggling with a lot of depression, mental health issues, in my opinion, because we got so disconnected in that. So what I see is when people get back into that, they can do it. You don't have to go to the Amazon rainforest. You can still do that as a trip, but you can't take the Amazon rainforest whole. You have to create something that you can enjoy every day. So that's really super important for people to understand that you can create a healthy, beautiful environments for your own. You have to do it in a way that is in harmony with nature, not just because it's better for nature, it's better for your personal health. It's way easier to maintain and the cost is way lower.
Sure. There's a lot to unpack in what you just shared. And one question I'm curious about, a lot of questions I'm curious about is, now you're in the Azores now, but say back home in Belgium, is there the same concern in both of your locations about climate change and nature and what we are doing to the environment? We have that concern here in the US. We also have a government right now that is prepared to sell off our land to do whatever they want to do with it. You know, it's like stripping for rare metals and whatever they can take the land and use it for something. And so there's definitely a disconnect, not only amongst individuals here in the US, but I'm curious is how do folks say back in Belgium or say in the Azores about climate change and really being more aware of the impact that we are having on nature and our environment and wanting to do something that is making a difference?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I find it's a bit double because some people are waking up and they're aware of like, okay, whatever, how our climate is acting now, that's not normal anymore. It's like, some people are still questioning that, but if you, like my father is a farmer, right? We have a good track record of the rains, when it rained and how cold it is and how warm. And I think climate change is not so much about heating up of the planet. That's like if the planet would become 1% or 1 degree hotter, some people say, great, I like hot days, but that's not the issue. The issue of climate change is the extremes. We're getting longer periods without, And then all of a sudden we get flash floods. All of a sudden it's been like in Spain, there was like no rain for over a year. And all of a sudden they had more rain that comes in a year. So these extremes are becoming more normal. This is like the new normal. So we can still argue about this climate change is real, what the impact is of our life, but we have to wake up to the reality that it's already right here and that we have to mitigate. In order for us to reverse climate change, we first have to be able to mitigate it, because otherwise we're going to lose everything.
Right.
The great news is that when you start getting into regenerative gardening, regenerative farming, start working with nature, your garden, your farm, even an outdoor development, we're now starting to work with developers. All of it is becoming way more resilient, because it all boils down to the soil of the health of the soil. So when you can create a healthy soil, it's like the environment becomes way more robust to these extremes, because your soil can now handle these extremes way better. At the same time as it can handle it better, it'll do more photosynthesis, it'll act better, and it will actually store more carbon dioxide than it's emitting. So then your own backyard can become a carbon sink, and that's what we need. We need plants to grow better. We need healthy environments. So on a macro scale, that's your garden can have an impact to reverse climate change. On a micro scale, you'll see that your garden is just so much livelier, more birds, more. You feel that it's vibrating differently. So yeah, these are some arguments to say we have to think about climate change. But I also want to move away from the paradigm of like, oh, it's so bad, our climate is completely destroyed. Like, there's a lot of doom thinking out there, and there's good reasons for it. But we also have to transcend that and be like, okay, now we know that there's a problem. Whatever, let's go on and resolve those problems. And the beauty of it is that it's way easier than we think. We're like so focused on the problem that we don't see the solutions anymore. And the solutions are so simple. Like, they've discovered that if I think 50% of the farmers would go into regenerative farming, which is a way where you farm, again, more in harmony with nature, and you actually have produce that is way healthier. It's the nutrient density of it is way better. Like a lot of the industrial produced foods, they don't have, and they have what they call empty calories. There's no minerals, no vitamins, no nothing. Still, we're eating them, and it's very cheap food, but there's like, you might as well not eat it because it doesn't have anything other than sugar.
Sure.
So knowing that when the farmers transition to the regenerative model, because farmers have it's the biggest land mass or the biggest land use in the world is agriculture.
Right.
So if we can transition the farmers, and within 7 years, we can be in pre-industrial revolutions amounts of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, which means we could solve climate change within 7 years. And it's already happening. A lot of farmers are waking up to it. I was just talking to a farmer in South America, in I think it was Paraguay, in a country that they had their own struggles and politically, but just because there wasn't any government support and they had a difficult history, all the farmers naturally went into regenerative farming because they didn't have all the chemicals, they didn't have all the stuff. So now this country that once was in a difficult position because of a weak government now is like thriving in food production because they nailed it in the regenerative practices. So it's really, really, really easy. We just have to get to the core of getting people to do it.
And I think it's also that there has to be that mindset shift, because this is the way we've always done it. And I'm going to get you a contact, and it's still early morning here in Las Vegas. I haven't had all my coffee, but I know I did an episode a couple of years ago with a gentleman who's very much an advocate of regenerative farming here in the U.S. And he was actually telling a story on the episode of someone he met in Mexico, which is a very hot, arid climate, and how they were using regenerative practices and actually having a really some phenomenal changes to the land that they were using in their farms, and bringing those practices back into the U.S. I think there is a mindset shift that has still here that has to take place, but
All right.
it's good to hear they are happening. With
There's actually, I just
your
want to jump there more. There's a lot of proactive farmers in the US.
yeah.
Okay. There's a few people that are doing really, really good work.
Yeah, and so I'm gonna find that name, and he'd be I'm sure be a great guest on your podcast. When you're working with a client, whether the client is, say, a corporation or the individual, what questions are they asking you, and how are you helping them perhaps lean into this idea that I could, yes, I could plant grass. Yes, I could plant fake grass, which is another bad thing here in Las Vegas, because you can't plant grass anymore because we don't have water. And then the plastic grass, the astroturf, which is what we call it, is bad for the environment. So you got to do something different. But where your clients are, how are you helping them get educated about what options they have to create regenerative green space, or have a house with a regenerative garden? I have no
Mhm.
idea if the garden behind me is regenerative. It
Mhm.
looks good.
It's good.
But how do you help them get educated and perhaps maybe change their mindset a little bit about what is possible? What does that conversation sound like?
Yeah, that's a good question. So usually I dive as deep as possible as I can into the things that are not working for them. Like a lot of my clients, they struggle, like, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to start. I'm overwhelmed with the amount of weeds that we have. And I get really deep into that because most of my colleagues, they don't dare talking about weeds because are doing what most people are doing, which is using the chemicals. And then it's just a quick fix, but actually you're making the problem worse. So
Mm.
I'm like, instead of, well, they will ask me like anything, like, oh, I want a beautiful garden. Well, the most common thing that they want is like, that they ask me is like, oh, I want a beautiful garden full of flowers, edible stuff, all this stuff. And actually, Howard, I'll talk about a client of mine. So it's more relevant, like a case study. So I had this client who contacted me for a 300 square meter garden, which is about 3,200 square feet.
Mhm.
And she said, like, I have this garden, it's completely overgrown by weeds. It doesn't work. We tried to work with chemicals, but it doesn't. Like, we don't want to use chemicals. We know it's bad. Can you come and help us? And I said, yeah, I'll come by. And I came, I had a look at the garden, and I saw there was like a weeds that in Belgium we call it gardener's sorrow. So it's like an invasive weed that people say when you have it in your garden, you might as well quit gardening because it'll take over everything.
Okay.
But I know that every weed comes for a reason. Actually, weeds have a story to tell because when you have a certain weed in your garden, it actually tells you something about the condition of the soil.
Mhm.
Certain minerals might be lacking, certain things are not in place, or your soil is too compacted. And actually, the weeds are trying to reverse that problem. That's why weeds come. They're actually problem solvers.
Yeah.
So, but we think, oh, weeds are bad. They're actually trying to help you. That's already a huge step. But so this client had no clue about that. And she said, like, I've seen some of your pictures and your amazing garden. So, you know what I want? I want a garden that is beautiful. It's beautiful designed. I want lots of flowers. I want to attract birds. I want to attract butterflies. I love nature. I also want edible stuff. I want vegetables. I want berries. And she kept going and on and on. Like, she pretty much wanted everything that makes an epic garden.
Mhm.
Imagine like a Garden of Eden. And I just kept listening. I was thinking like, wow, that's a lot of stuff. And then she said, but you know what? I don't want too much, or I don't want maintenance. I don't want any maintenance. Like, or I want a low maintenance car. And that's what most of my clients come and ask me, like, hey, I want all of it, but I don't want to do much work. And at the beginning of my career, I thought it was impossible because I followed um, the more normal system. There, it's like, okay, you want something unique, you have to do a lot of work. But through my studies and what I did and figuring out how nature works, we cracked the code. And you know what I said to this client? Because I had already gathered all the information, but I hadn't applied it. Said, you know what? I'm going to take on the challenge. We're going to create a garden of 300 square meters that is very low in maintenance. We'll push it to the limits of decreasing the maintenance. She said, okay, good. So we made the quotes, agreed to the terms, and we started. And by the time the garden, so we design it, we pick the plants, we're very deliberate, and we apply all of the systems that I learned, like using high quality compost, not just any compost, because again, most of the compost in the garden centers is actually bad for your soil. They put chemicals in it, so you shouldn't use it. There's other ways to do it better, which is getting them from regenerative farms, because they know how to do it well. And then at the same time, we mulched it, we selected great plants. And after completing the garden, within the next planting season, which was 9 months, there was only 12 hours of maintenance. So that's like, and I say 9 months because it's the growing season. So in essence, it's 12 hours of maintenance in 1 year. So even if you take it to the extreme, it's less than half an hour of work a week to do in your garden for a 3,200 square feet garden, which is not small.
Yeah.
So I think we nailed it there, and it has all the things that she wanted. Like, but there's vegetables, berries, everything. Like, so it is totally possible. That's why when I see a lot of people are scared to get into gardening because they think, oh, when I create my own garden, now I'm gonna have to work all weekend and I can't go on holidays because if I miss something, my plants will die. And that is only true if you follow the conventional system, which is using the chemicals and you have to irrigate a lot and they don't care about soil life. But if you follow the systems that and they're all based on the regenerative principles, when you apply those things in your garden, you see like it becomes so easy. And even if you then have to work in your garden, you're so excited because it's like fun work. It's not getting out the weeds as much. It's more like observing, you look what's working, what's not. So yeah, gardening is really something fun and like, yeah, I think we could talk more about the benefits of what it means and the science behind it when you start gardening. But that question I mostly get is people like, I want that crazy garden, whatever they like, but I don't want to do the work. So we make that happen.
When I was growing up in Michigan, so the state that looks like your hand, I grew up in a suburb, and we had our lawns, and every year the dandelions would show up, and and this is kind of leading because I was reviewing your website and your Facebook, and I saw that wonderful diagram of the dandelion and that long root, and I couldn't help but kind of snicker in a way because my family spent a lot of money on the company to come out and spray the lawn.
Yeah.
And looking
do you have
back
any idea of what it would cost, like per square foot or per square 100 foot?
For the spraying?
For the lawn care and the spray and all that.
I'm pretty sure it was a lot of money. I mean, maybe back then it could have been $100 a month for the spraying, but back in the 60s and the 70s, whatever that cost was, and I'm thinking we didn't know then what we know now about those chemicals and how bad they were. The lawn smelled good. It looked good for a little while. I still had to cut the grass, which I had a mowing service that I would go out and cut people's lawns, but it was hard to spend 2 hours out there cutting the grass. It would have been nice, like your customer, your client, having something to just take care of itself. That would have been nice.
Yeah.
When right now in the Azores where you are at, there are different climates depending on where you are on the islands and if where you're facing.
Mhm.
I would imagine there are different strategies for having regenerative gardening and the types of plants you would use depending on which part of the island and how you are
Yes.
facing. Uh, what are and I would and also I would I don't know, maybe Belgium is a little bit more consistent because it's northern, it's cold, it's rainy. Uh,
Mhm.
what are the challenges in setting up a regenerative gardening and educating people when you've got a climate that, that depending on where you're at, there's a lot of could be more arid, could be more wet, could be more salt in the air versus fresh, nice breezes and fresh water. What are the challenges of help making the decision of what's going to work best where the customer is at or the client is at?
Mhm. Yeah. So here in the Azores, you're right. It's a very different climate. It's subtropical, but somehow this island has been blessed with one of the best soils of the world. It
Mm,
is because it's a volcanic island. It has volcanic ashes that came down, and you can see it in the soil. It's actually like small chunks of lava stone.
hmm
And that has so many minerals and so many, like everything, potassium, phosphorus, whatever plants need, it's all there in huge quantities. So pretty much anything can grow here. But at the same time, we do have to consider all the micro climates that there are, because you're right, like sometimes there's salt influences, sometimes it's wind, sometimes it's up in the mountains and it's a little colder. So we do have to consider all these things. But it's funny that you ask, because I actually also have a master class where I teach people online how to design, create, and maintain their own garden. And part of that class, I've developed an AI system that you have to gather as much data as possible from your specific location, wherever you are in the world, because it works everywhere. And we give it all the data, and then it'll spit out a list of plants that will grow for sure in your climate, in your soil, and whatever specific area you are in the world. So with that system now, I can very easily find plants that grow here, even though I'm not super deep into the plant diversity that grows here, even though pretty much anything can grow here. Like not the full on tropical things, but everything that grows in Belgium. Well, not everything, but a lot of the things that grow in Belgium grow here. And then we have bananas, pineapples, mangoes, avocados, like a lot of other stuff. So yeah, and I think it's very interesting to use the power of AI to make smarter and faster decisions. And yeah.
I I think that's wonderful. My roommate and her boyfriend, here in Las Vegas. I mean, right now the sun is literally, I mean, probably very much like the Azores in the summer. It's just burning down on you, and there are certain plants that just are not going to do well. They're looking to sell this house and move to the Oregon coast, which is right on the Pacific and different climate, and so they probably would benefit from this master class. And you're right about the AI. And as a podcaster, you're probably familiar with AI to help you produce your episodes. What, as far as an investment in this master class, how often do you run the class? Is it on demand or is it organized coursework? What does that look
Oh,
like?
so it's anyone can join the group at any given time, because part of it is in a self-learning system. So we have a database with videos that they have to watch over the course of 9 weeks. And then at the same time, we meet every week on Zoom with the whole group. And then you can ask me any questions. We also have a WhatsApp group. So yeah, I've taken a lot of courses in understanding what is the best way for people to learn how to garden. So I invested a lot in coaching to get the right thing going. And I figured out that 9 weeks is perfect because it's long enough to get really deep, but it's not too long that you like continuing having to learn new things, and you can actually apply the things as we go. And so, yeah, that's how it's set up. So weekly
Okay.
Zoom meetings, WhatsApp support group, and then also you can you have a lifelong access to the library of the videos and all the materials that come with it.
Okay. Well, I'm going to see if I can get a client or two for you for this masterclass.
Amazing.
The roommate's a big gardener, and I love the birds. I could just sit out with my coffee and I want to see the birds.
Yeah, well, it's going to help you because with the regenerative gardening, if I can quickly jump in on that, is that we want to attract as many beneficial wildlife as possible, and birds are an essential part of that. Because if you can attract more birds into your garden, they're actually going to eat the insects that might kill your plants. So
right.
that's covered in my book. It's like, this is how nature works. This is an ecosystem. There's things that one thing helps to destroy the other thing, and another thing helps grow the other thing. So there's a whole system behind it. So we're using that knowledge and applying that in your garden to get, but at the same time, you get the results that you want. You don't want just a wild looking nature. You want the flowers or the edible plants, or whatever you desire.
Sure. I would love, Matthieu, if you would grace us with a little bit of your handiwork. And if I go out and visit your website, if you're okay taking us on a little tour and maybe describing a little bit of what you just shared. I love technology. Cool. We get to do this. All right.
Yeah, let's do it.
Here we go. You've changed a little bit.
This is it.
Okay.
I hope that's a compliment.
It's okay. I'm trying to cut out sugar from my diet, so I'm hopefully, Howard, have you losing weight? Yeah, as a matter of fact. So first off, how do we pronounce the company name?
Paulownia. Like magnolia, but then Paulownia.
Okay. I love it. And that looks like an insect right there.
Yeah. It's funny that you say that it looks like an insect, because it's actually it's Japanese for tree.
Okay.
It's the Japanese symbol of tree.
Okay. Very good. So take us on a little tour here.
Yeah, I think if you scroll down, we can show you some of the projects.
Okay.
So what would you like to see? Some sketches, design, city gardens, landscape gardens?
Yeah. Where do you think we should go?
I think we could just click through the pictures on the bottom, like right on that one. If you click on that, it should become a little bigger.
Yeah. For whatever reason, my clicker doesn't want to work.
Then maybe go to landscape gardens.
Okay. There we go. It's modern technology. It's okay. Well, let's go back.
Yeah,
you know this as a podcaster, you have to be adaptable.
Yeah, exactly. So the picture on the left is actually on our family farm. So my brothers and I, we've transformed our farm to start to become more regenerative. And part of that whole strategy was also that we want to invite people to come to the farm, because the more we can show people how we grow our food, the more they will buy it directly from us. And that's what we need. If you want to create a high quality product, in order to keep the price as low as possible, we need the most amount of the margin. So if people come out to our farm and buy our produce directly, like we have meat, we're working with other farmers for milk, we have a vegetable farmer that we collaborate with. So we said, okay, how can we make it attractive? And that's what I did. We created huge gardens that people come and they can spend time, they can relax in the garden. That's been a pivotal moment in the farm, because now it's like a heaven on earth. And people love to spend time there. We do a ton of events, the farmers markets.
Oh, wow.
Like businesses can rent the farm for team buildings. We have a big field kitchen. You can actually see that if you scroll down. So that is one of the gardens there. And that's on the picture on the right, you see an aerial of the whole farm.
By the way, if I get back to Belgium, I'm visiting the farm. You say, you're going to tell your brother and dad, hey, this guy from the US is coming for a visit.
You're always welcome.
I love this.
And then as part of also what we do is on the farm is that we created a slow flower farm. So we grow a lot of flowers on the farm that are being sold for hotels, restaurants, and then people can come and pick their own vegetables and their own flowers. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
These projects are more city. There's a city garden in Hamburg in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
That's another. That picture on the left bottom is a villa garden in Bruges.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see my team members in my group. I have a very talented guy from Turkey who's the head of digital design, and he does all the 3D works.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of that there.
Very nice. And I have been to Turkey too. Belgium, Turkey. You're like speaking my language right now. Good food, good culture. I love it.
Exactly.
Let's see where we go. City gardens. Let's see what's here. Oh, there we go. It's filling up. Okay. So what was the most challenging project as you kind of look back where, it really maybe stumped you for a little bit? Like, how do I turn this? There's a lot of gravel, there's a lot of stone, there's a lot of concrete, and I want to turn this into something my client is going to love and cherish for years to come, but it also adheres to the principles of regenerative gardening.
Yeah. So actually, it's funny that you ask, because it's the project that you're looking at right in the middle of the city garden in Hamburg.
Okay.
So before that, it's now a green island, and before that, it was completely asphalted.
Okay.
So we had to remove all the asphalt with a company that we collaborate with, or a subcontractor. And then, it was a really tough project too, because limited space in the downtown Hamburg, and we had to get trucks through the streets. It was quite an adventure to get it done, but eventually the client loved it. And the client was so excited. He always wanted like other stuff. We had made like an iron cast grill for, there was like an underground air conditioning system, and he wanted a beautiful iron cast grill on top of it. So we designed that. We did all crazy stuff. There's actually an elevator that, on the left you can see it, that you can put your car, or it's an elevator, and the car will come out, and then you put your car in and it goes down, and on top of it, it's like a terrace, pergola that you can sit under.
Oh, nice.
So we've done a lot of crazy things in a small space.
Okay. I would imagine as long as you have a space, so let's say it's a couple square meters, that's pretty small.
Mm-hmm.
But, if you can just work with that, and now you have a place you can walk away from your computer, walk away from your phone, just sit out there and enjoy nature. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's wonderful. I mean, I would love, sometimes during the cooler times of the year, I'll go out and do my coaching calls outside when I'm working with clients. And podcasting a little more of a challenge because of the noise, trying to control the noise, but just being able to get out and enjoy nature, there's just something thrilling about it. And I love it. Let me just do a quick, I'm on your Facebook page now.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
Okay. Let's do a quick, we're going to see a little bit of your life here.
I think there's some more recent projects. Yeah, that one we just completed.
Okay.
This
was interesting with the concrete, and this is,
yes.
I love the fact that grass is between the stones.
Yeah. So it was an old farm, and when I arrived there was already old concrete that was starting to get overgrown by grass. And I said, like, "Oh, that looks actually cool." So we took that idea and we made it more abstract and used it as a terrace. So there's these big concrete slabs that were custom made the whole site.
I love that. I would definitely be sitting out here in this chair and table and having an adult beverage or a beverage of some sort.
Yeah.
Oh, very nice. Here's the dandelion.
Yes.
I love this.
Yeah, the roots can go up to 2.4 meters, or what is that? Inch. It's quite deep.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're, if you're me, you're cutting it with your little sickle or your lawnmower, you haven't done any damage because it's going to grow back.
Oh yeah. But the cool thing, Howard, is I didn't say that, is that dandelion is actually coming for a reason, because we consider it a weed. And I explained you that weeds come for a reason. So dandelions are actually there to well, if you have dandelions in your grass, it means that your soil is compacted and that it's lacking certain minerals.
Right.
So if you're trying to pull it out, it'll just keep coming back because you haven't solved the root cause. In this case, the root cause is not the actual root. The root cause is the compaction of the soil. So when you want to fix it, you shouldn't use chemicals because it will come back. You need to get to the core and decompact the soil and add some high quality compost, and then naturally it's going to disappear.
I love it. And it comes down to patience, awareness, and education, and not reacting immediately to, oh, I got to throw some bad fertilizer on it. This is beautiful.
Oh, this is actually the 3,200 square feet garden that I talked about, where the client was, they wanted everything. So it has herbs, flowers.
I think she still has to cut the lawn though. There's probably those little push mowers.
No, they have little robots who does it. So it's,
where I needed those robots when I was cutting lawns when I was a teenager. I love that. Yeah. It's like the Roombas. Roombas. It's like the Roomba for the lawn. I like that. So you have a trellis here?
Yes.
This is great.
It's another project.
Yeah. I love it. Well, listen, I'm going to head back to you and I, and because I want to be respectful of your time today. This has been a great conversation. I mean, obviously we have this Belgian connection, which I totally appreciate, and thank you for indulging me in that little reminiscence of my time back with friends in Belgium, but it was great to learn about you and your work, and I really am excited just to kind of continue to learn more. And I know my roommate and her boyfriend are going to be very interested in this because the space that they are hoping to get in Oregon is actually they're building a community, and the community will have green space between the units. And so understanding what you cannot do, what will work, is going to be very important. So I love to introduce her to the master class and to the AI tool, because I'm sure that'll be a benefit. Before we head out, Matthieu, if our listeners would like to learn more about you and your work, I know we were just on your website and we were on your Facebook page. Is there anywhere else that you'd like to send folks?
Oh yeah, so you can follow me also on Instagram. There I'm giving like garden tips and tricks as much as I can, like the little hacks that already can help you. And then if you go on my Instagram profile, there's also a link to a 30-minute free training. Mm-hmm. So there you can like get a little taster, what I call of the masterclass, and already is that you can actually apply it. And if from there you're like, wow, I want to do more, there's also a link for a Calendly, and then you can book a meeting with me, a 30-minute free coaching training, and then we can see if the masterclass is a fit for you. So that's where you can find the most of my resources. So, but if you Google my name or you'll find that, and then, or you can go straight to the 30-minute training, which is www.gardenofyourdreams. It's like gardenofyourdreams.com /free training. Okay. And then you'll get straight to that as well.
We'll provide those links in our show notes, and we'll also have a link to, which we didn't get a chance to really dive into, perhaps another time, the Regenerative Design podcast. So it's always a pleasure to meet and work with other podcasters. So it was, on that note, I wish you much success in that endeavor as well. It's podcasting is a lot of fun, but people don't realize just how much work goes into producing a podcast. But I find it's a great way to have conversations, and you have a wonderful niche around the topic of regenerative agriculture and farming and gardening. So we wish you much success there. Matthieu, it's been a pleasure to have you on the podcast, and thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you very much, Howard, for having me. It was really cool to dive deep into gardening.
Sounds good. Listen, stay in the line. We're going to do a real quick close, and you and I can have a final chat, okay?
Yeah, perfect.
All right, folks, we have just been chatting with Matthieu Mehuys, award-winning author, landscape architect, and host of the Regenerative Design podcast. And as I had shared at the onset, we had shared his mission is to make the world greener and healthier, but I also love it's helping individuals, whether it's businesses, organizations who have homes and buildings, perhaps green space. And there's a lot that you can do to make this a very welcoming respite from your day-to-day grind, sitting outside enjoying the flowers and the birds and the breeze. And it's more than just planting a tree and throwing fertilizer. There's ways to do it that helps protect the environment, protects the species, and getting educated on something this whole regenerative space is very powerful. And really encourage you to go out to his social sites and check. We're going to provide links back to the website, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, as also to his podcast, the Regenerative Design podcast. So a lot of ways to learn about this really fascinating topic, and you can make a difference in your community or right outside of your back door. Now, as for this episode, you can find us on our website, outdooradventureseries.com. We're also on LinkedIn and Facebook. The video of this episode will be up on our Outdoor Adventure Series YouTube channel. And of course, you can listen to the podcast wherever you get your podcast from. Just remember, we love likes, comments, and sharing. Okay, folks, until next time, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, go out there, have a phenomenal day. And we look forward to having you join us on a future episode of the Outdoor Adventure Series podcast. Take care.